All right, sound still work? All right. With a hardwood, I could never go this fast. Yeah, this soft pine really gets torn up, especially when I go this fast. Okay. I brought a spare if this doesn't work. Okay. Switch to a round nose scraper to get the shape better, fine tune it. Need to raise my tool rest a bit. I've done enough of these to tell, but I'll show you that I still have a ways to go. I don't know how well you can see that. If I hold it this way. This top edge needs to line up with the top edge. When it lines up with the top edge and the curve matches all the way down, then I'm done. I normally mess with these for quite a while, trying to get it as accurate as I can. I will endeavor to get close enough. It's not bad. See, the template itself determines where the end is, where I need to cut. The video on YouTube, the guy measures that, but then you have to cut all that wood away. Okay, that's getting close enough. At home, I would probably spend a few more minutes fine-tuning that. But we have a pretty good match. Like that. Not yet. You have to do the other side. That's one thing about the pine. It's really soft. The tips dig in. It's really soft pine. If it hits you, it's not going to hurt much. I'm the one wearing this, right? I can say that. Yeah, the one that hit me was walnut and satinwood, and that stuff is heavy. It actually bounced off my face and landed on my tools. I had to go find it. All right. This is one of those projects where it helps to be able to turn left-handed if you can. I have not mastered this in the least, but I can do it well enough to do one of these. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, especially in a demo, but I've never overcut one of these. Since I am not left-handed, I tend not to get the one on the left side done quite as prettily as the one on the right, but I get close enough. Okay. That look good enough? Close enough for country western, as they say? Okay. Now is the time to do some sanding. Once we pull this apart and twist it, you're going to need to start sanding again. So there really isn't any point. Do not do finish sanding at this point. Just sand it enough to get the tool marks off. And that's all. Because you're going to have to sand a lot more once you glue it together. And if you took this thing up to 600 grit, you're really going to be ticked at yourself. For aesthetics, as you see on these, I always round this edge. To me, it just adds to the overall roundness looking of the piece. It is not necessary. So technically now would be the time to sand because I forgot to do this rounding. And try to blend those surfaces in because this edge, once we pull this apart, this edge is going to have to match up with what's down here, which is round.
Does that change your diameter at all?
No, I do not do anything to reduce, why, it broke. Do not do anything to reduce the diameter of the center. I cut up to it from either side, but I leave the actual diameter alone. Oh, need to part it off. Actually, this one's cracking. I think I'll skip the parting off part and do it just with a saw. This is overkill. When I got into woodworking years ago, I told my sister-in-law she decided to get me a present. She knew nothing about woodworking. She didn't ask me what I needed. So she gets me this killer saw. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. So I started turning Femispheres. But you know what? I found a use for it. All right, so now we got to get it apart. Now the same guy on YouTube who measures more than he really needs to. Oh, certainly. That speed. I have no idea what that speed was. I don't go real fast on these, basically because it just held me together with tape. I don't want to introduce centrifugal force into things that are already trying to make it come apart. I'll use this. Okay.
Consider using CA glue to reinforce.
At times I do. When it starts to peel, then I do squirt some CA in there. It makes it a bit of a challenge to get it apart afterwards, but it beats the alternative.
Well, I was thinking more for the waste glue on the end, or the center going in.
Well, you can try to reinforce it there. I see what you're saying. Reinforce the ends. There's a guy in our club who actually, he puts pipe clamps, hose clamps, on the ends of his. I thought, well, that hurts. touch one of those when it's spinning. So now we have to get it apart. And the same guy who does the more measuring that he really needs to, he uses dental floss to separate it. I thought, well, that's a really cool idea. So I got me some dental floss, and I tried it, and I broke the floss. So we have a couple of different kinds in the house. I went and got another one. And that stuff was so slick that all the knots, because I put it on 2 dowels like you do a burning wire. When I go to pull it, the knots would untie. The stuff was so slick it wouldn't stay tied. So I'm not sure how good of an idea the dental floss was, because I can't make it work. Maybe if I use mint. Maybe mint would work really well. But this is a Femisphere separation tool. Home Depot sells these. They're mislabeled. They have them in the paint scraper aisle for some reason. And they're not ground properly either. So this is a stiff scraper. You don't want one that bends. These come ground straight across, so I sweep it back and I sharpen it some. You don't want to get it real sharp, because when you go to try to push into a gap, particularly if it's a soft wood, if you get this really sharp, it'll go in whatever it wants to. Why do I know that? So get it thin, but not real sharp. I used to always go in from the thin bits, because that's usually where it's easiest, but it makes the wood flex. And on some of the softer woods especially, it wouldn't go back. So I tried to come in from this part where it doesn't flex. Oh, this one's cooperating very nicely. And one, well, it was, except that one disadvantage of using pine, the tape was stronger than the wood. Okay, that's not going to go together so well, but it'll good enough for us to see what's going on. And another difference between my old roll of tape and this roll of tape, my old tape rarely left any residue of any kind. It was one reason I really liked it. This stuff leaves a lot. And it's the same brand, same everything, but it's changed somehow. Woodcraft. I'm sorry if I didn't say that, but yes, I got it at Woodcraft.
Did you order it or did you get it at the store?
This particular roll I ordered. They usually have it at the store. I live in Georgetown. My nearest store is in Austin. Traffic in Austin is such that I'd rather order it over the web. So, since I'm dealing with tape that leaves residue, I have to figure out a way to get it off. I use a little bit of acetone, which works quite well. Okay. Normally, I put these together with yellow glue so that it gives me a little bit of work time to get the seams lined up properly. But for tonight, we'll do CA. Do remember to twist it before you glue it together. I'm speaking from experience again. I was really impressed with myself, how well the seam lined up. Thought, this is great. I did that one with CA as well, so once I realized what I had done, too bad. It does not, yeah, you have to twist it 90 degrees. It doesn't matter which direction, in theory, because you did it completely evenly, right? Same in every direction. Okay, knockout bar. On the back side, on the top. Oh, right here. Thank you. And since sometimes that comes out, persuade it not to. So what we have here is the little bit still sticking out before I cut it past where it needed to be. Yeah, we have the bit that broke off when the tape actually tore the wood. So normally I part these down really thin on either end before I take it off and saw it. So when you taper it down real thin, resist the urge to simply grab the waste and twist it off. Especially if you didn't leave much waste. Those fibers can tear down into the Femisphere. There's another thing. Why do I know that? And something you just spent an hour doing is almost ruined. So the final shaping I always do with sanding. I have a stationary belt sander that I normally use to take the bulk of this off, but we'll just do it this way here. What I want to do is take down the waste and round the tip to blend in with the curved edge that's already there. I can lose these. So once I get it flush, this end, I work on the front. So basically I'm turning this into this. I also need to sand the seam flush. I've had two of these come out perfectly. First one was at a demo, believe it or not. Another one was at my house yesterday. I was quite surprised. It is extremely rare that I don't need to sand the seam. Always keep this moving. This will make a flat spot, just like that. And flat and Femisphere do not go together. This is a very curved object. So always keep it moving. bit that's broken, but I'll fake it anyway. This particular sanding drum is 150 grit. There we have a Femisphere. From here on out, it's hand sanding. It is very boring hand sanding. Start with 150, 220. I usually take these up to 400, sometimes 600. And it gets old in a hurry. Hand starts cramping because it's such a small object. After you've done a couple of grits, it's hard to figure out where you started and where you ended. So pay attention. I usually buff these with Beal when I'm done. And again, you have to pay attention to where you start and end because it pretty much looks the same from every direction. I usually do not use figured wood on these because the figure really accentuates the seam in the middle.
Is there any wood that you suggest using to start out to learn the procedure? Poplar, real straight grain?
Nice straight grain poplars. I'm personally allergic to poplar. I just found that out last summer. But yes, poplar, probably basswood. I wouldn't go with anything really hard as your first one. Perhaps some pine that's not quite as soft as this pine would be good to start with. I would pass this one around, but it's pretty ugly. Let's pass around a couple of more. Does anybody have any questions at all? I meant to pass these around earlier. I'm sorry I didn't do it. Apparently, the fem is for feminine because of the curves. I didn't know that for many years, but that's, if you look it up, some places say that's what it's for. I don't know for certain, but good as any explanation, I guess. Oh, and this one will roll just like the others, even with its busted tip. See? Here we go. So I give these away a lot. People use them as desktop toys, conversation pieces, that sort of thing. Drop them on the floor. Okay, I guess if there are no further questions, I'm done.